Welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, the podcast that all of a sudden has two good teams to cheer for. This week on Heart and Hand, it could be an ice rink in the middle of a wind tunnel. It won't stop us. So welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name's David Edgar. I am your host as always, and I'm joined this week by a debutant, first of all, from the Blue Scarves On show on our Patreon network. If you're not listening to it yet, you really should be. And just ahead of our trip to Warsaw, it's Marina. Hello, Marina.
Hello there, David.
Now, no one is going to believe, having heard your voice, that you and I come from the same town.
Yeah, we do indeed. I think you literally live round the corner from my mum. So
now, we were different ends of the town when I was growing up. I mean, that might explain the voice quality difference. But yes, when we're bringing a lady on to Heart and Hand, then I thought about certain guests, and you can't have certain ones for obvious reasons. I needed a gentleman. And look, when you think gentleman, you think Heart and Hand, you think Martyn Ramsey, don't you?
Of course.
Martyn, hello.
Good evening, David. Good evening, Marina. How are we?
Excited about the future is probably the best way to describe it. Let's kick off then with two matches to cover, and they were kind of strange in a way because they were both expected victories, which is odd when you think of one of them, in particular Martyn, and yet Rangers pretty easily overcame Midfield, were able to change 10 players before going to East Fife, and have given the players a solid week off before Warsaw.
Yeah, it's all about gears, isn't it? We approached these two games knowing that hopefully we wouldn't have to be at the absolute best, because we'll talk about it later. We've got a huge 10 days coming up, I think, and it was very much like that. We did enough, and we did enough still with room to spare in both, which is an improvement from where we were certainly a couple of years ago, and even this time last year, I think.
Marina, I think going into the first leg against Midfield, we thought it was going to be a big test. Rangers produced an exceptional performance, and I think it really was, rather than it being, they're not as good as we thought they were or anything like that. I think it was just Rangers were very good, played the perfect European match with the exception of 10 minutes. But taking them back to Ibrox, whether or not it's, I don't know, a legacy of what we've been through over the last 10 years, I don't think anyone was worried, but you could tell that had maybe Midfield got that first goal, then I'm sure a few of us would have started to go, okay. And after they missed that early chance, then Rangers pretty much asserted control.
Absolutely, yeah. I think after supporting Rangers for many years, you can never take anything for granted. So even with that comfortable win, we've been burned before, and I'm usually quite optimistic, not cocky, confident, but optimistic. But having booked part of my trip to Warsaw already,
Jinx.
It was a really stressful start to that game. So I'm glad that Rangers kind of helped ease my nerves early on when they got the first goal. But all the way through it, all I was doing in my head was just counting like how many goals Midfield would then need to score.
To get back into it. I mean, Martyn, it's a difficult one for the players because do you stick, do you twist, what do you do? And I was quite impressed by the fact that Rangers did very clearly decide we're going to go out and try and win the game without being crazy, without doing anything really silly. I think the midfield that was selected suggested that. But yeah, creative players like Shiojo, best game in a Rangers shirt so far, Alfredo Morelos, who's just in amazing form at the moment. We will come to him and Jermaine Defoe later. But they were very professional. It's a word that keeps coming up this week.
Yeah, and the tone was set from the selection, I thought. Quite a few of us maybe wondered, game pretty much done, will he rest a few over these two games? But he, with the exception of Aribo for suspension reasons or potential suspension reasons, he selected, I think, his version of his best 11, and they obviously delivered for him. And game management, which is something that we're learning as time goes on. We you mentioned the 10 minutes in Denmark where we had no game management at all, and I think everyone's mind went back to Moscow. It's exactly that. How do we approach this game? Well, we just see what happens in those initial stages, see what they're going to do, and hopefully gaps appear, and they did, and we exploited it, and the tie was kind of put to bed. It was just a grown up professional performance, job done. And as we kind of joked on the way out of Ibrox, it was like the old days, and then we remembered it absolutely was not like the old days, because Rangers in Europe was not like that in any way, shape or form. Professional game management and just taking care of business after doing all that we needed to do in an away first leg. We were usually trying to recover 2 or 3 goal deficits to qualify for these things. So it was an enjoyable evening, and there is just a growing maturity about the group that can probably only happen after a year together. It was never going to happen last year. Just too much to be done in that one summer, that just 2 windows, and it was good to see.
Let's talk about that stability that Martyn mentions there, Marina. You don't get a year-on-year improvement when you're ripping everything up and starting again. Whereas I think that this year, because guys are settled in, that helps new signings when they come in, because they've got people, rather than there being 15 of them, and they all have to basically gel immediately. I think that you can see that there are certain players who are making the step up, and 2 in particular. One is Ryan Jack, who I think has been delivering exceptional performances this season. I think he has gone up a level. But the other one, strangely, is Alfredo Morelos, because nobody doubted that Alfie's a great player. We know this already, but there's just a little extra 5-10%, whatever you want to call it at the moment, whether it's confidence, I don't know, movement, finishing. Brilliantly described by someone on Twitter. He said, well, the 2 legs against Midfield, he wore their defence like a hat.
Yeah, it's good when we can focus on his football.
Yes.
Rather than all this, and when he can sort of relax and just play good football as well. But to think even the Hibs game, like almost 2 years before, would get beat 3-2 by Hibs, and I think Morelos scored.
He did.
And
got booked for being fouled by Darren McGregor, by being caught round the neck by Darren McGregor. We'll come to John Beaton later. He's having a hell of a week.
I know some things don't change then.
No.
But yeah, and Jack gets sent off. Tav scored an own goal. So the difference in our long-standing players, is it for Morelos? Is it Defoe? Is it Stevie G? Is it both?
I think he's got a manager who believes in him, absolutely. 100% believes in him, and has defended the man, has stuck up for him, with the exception of obviously when I think he really did go that one too many for everyone. Martyn, we were talking about this coming out of the ground last week about Morelos. He didn't get into the Colombia squad, and there hasn't been the interest in him, let's be honest, that I think we all assumed that there was going to be. There's been rumours of a bid from China. There was a £10 million bid from West Brom. That's pretty much it. And look, we were discussing that as Rangers fans, we tend to go, when we're talking about Alfie, oh, well, he did this or he did that, or this was taken out. Yes, we know the context of, well, it was for this, it was for that, it was rescinded, etc. But if you are a club looking at a player, you just see 5 red cards in 50 games, not worth the risk, we'll go to somebody else. It does appear, and it's very early doors, and I don't want to make a hostage to fortune, but that is something that if he wants to reach the level that he's capable of reaching, that does need to change.
Yeah, and there are mixed opinions in our camp, I think it's fair to say, our hand camp, not the Rangers camp, about the importance or otherwise of his disciplinary record, and does it put clubs off or not? Should it put clubs off or not? Which is probably a different question. I think with Morelos, the Colombian thing's huge. I think you just have to have any cognizance of his social media output to know how important that is to him. Missing out on the Copa America would have been a blow. There is no question the events at Parkhead had some kind of bearing on that. It's probably fair to say that there was a hope that a Copa America appearance really would put him in the frame for the kind of move that he wanted this summer. So if those are linked the way that some believe them to be, then nothing else is going to change them if it's not that, because it's that important to them. And perhaps now that the English window has closed, maybe there's another route to the Premier League, maybe through France. We're not home and hosed yet with respect to that. But if there is a feeling that, okay, there's some contributory negligence here on my side, get the head down, do what I'm doing just now, getting back to that counting to 10 when I'm on the deck thing, and just do my work, and my dreams will be realised. And if that is the case, then his management, our management, have done their job, because a few months ago, he was going.
Any worries, and I think they were legit given what happened a couple of years ago, after the China move fell through, that he wouldn't show up, I think we can put to bed, because he's been exceptional, and as I say, he's taken his game on to another level, which is absolutely wonderful. So from there, the highs of that, we then went to East Fife in the Betfred Cup, slightly less glamorous, I think it's fair to say. And what a weird game of football this was, in terms of, firstly, Rangers made 10 changes, only Glenn Kamara kept his place. We got to have a look at a few new boys who've arrived in. The pitch was one of these plastic pitches, which I don't want to sound like somebody standing complaining about the sea coming in, but they're not very good. And on top of that, obviously a park with one stand, you're going to get wind just off the water. That's exactly what did happen. And Marina, I think that it was more to me about getting through. I didn't expect a 6-7 scintillating performance, because at times it looked like a team that never played together, because they've never played together.
Exactly, a good training game for them, as you said. If you'd have offered me 3-0 before the game, I would happily have taken that. So yeah, I'm more than happy with that result, and with no injuries, no drama. Job done.
Yeah, I think that it was never going to be a joyful occasion, Martyn. It's a put-to-bed game, really. But what we did get was, and I was impressed by this, Jermaine Defoe, who is, a big name in football, who's been there, done it, bought the T-shirt, all of that kind of stuff. He I suppose you would understand if he thought, oh, bloody hell, I'm getting picked for this game, against these jobbers. None of that, enthusiastic, full of verve, full of passion, full of running, loved his goal. And so he should have, because it was a beauty. And 6 for him already this season, 9 for Alfredo. They don't play together, which means you're getting these goals generally in different matches. And all of a sudden, we look as though we've got some serious firepower up there.
We do. We've talked before about the issues with getting an alternative when you play that formation. You're not playing 2 up front. You're just playing with the one. Getting someone who's prepared to be a number 2 of the relevant quality is difficult. Ask Spurs at a different level how hard that is when you have an absolute kind of locked in first choice. It's no secret or no coincidence that Defoe is still in the shape he's in, at the age he's in. He is a professional footballer in every sense of the word. He looks after himself. He loves the game. He loves this challenge. I think you could see that from the moment he arrived. He's got those first few months at the end of a season under his belt. He's got a pre-season under his belt, and he's just ready to go. He will be used. We cannot rely on the one player, because you'll run him into the ground, and some defences are better at, we've seen it, we've seen the evidence, they're better at setting up against Rangers when it is Morelos, because when Morelos is at the top of the tree, we play in a slightly different way than when Defoe's up there. So we need options, not just in personnel, but in shape. And his goal was great. Listen, it's probably a sign of the times, and the level of saturation we have, and I understand pot kettle black here as we meet yet again, as we do every week, to talk about every aspect of Rangers. But this is the kind of game during the 1990s, we'd be on a midweek and you'd barely check teletext to see what the update was, because it would just be taken care of. And you've 3-0, did McCoy score? Okay, Neil Murray scored. Oh, good to see him getting a run. It's just, it's in the background. It's just there. There's nothing you can take from it, right? Unless there's a disaster. It's difficult to take too much away, because of the fact, as you mentioned, the one tunnel, the pitch, that it must be in the back of players' minds that there's going to be a klaxon going off at any time to say that another group's got this at 3. Can you move along, boys? It's just one of those afternoons. Get the job done. Get some minutes in the legs of some of the players who aren't playing all the time. I've seen a bit of consternation about, well, these second stringers and Defoe and Aribo and Kamara even aren't really in that bracket. Surely we're going to see them kind of champing at the bit. You're just not in a Betfred Cup match in those conditions against these Fife, right? It's difficult to assess either way, and just as Marina said, job done. Just get up the road into the hat, and more plastic pitch fun awaits.
Mm-hmm. Yes, as we head to Livy, which I can't go to because I'm a jinx. I've never seen us win at Livingston, and I've been plenty, so I'll be watching that one on the telly. Marina, what I liked about yesterday, just before we got into more depth in the game, was that Steven Gerrard, Jermaine Defoe and Brittany Polster were all at New Bayview, which must have been something that nobody could have dreamed of. But it's not the most unusual place Brittany's going to be, is it?
No, not at all. Brittany will soon be appearing on Heart and Hands. Caroline and I have been speaking to her. We're big fans of her videos, which I'm sure a lot of Rangers supporters are.
Your army of loyal pervert fans will be absolutely. I think you'll kill a couple of my subscribers. You owe me $1.99 per month for each one that drops out.
Yeah, it's going to be too much. It's going to be too much. Marina was preparing for coming on today, so the hint and tip was speaking to in public is that you just imagine your audience naked, but for them that's literally usually the case.
It might be the other way around, unfortunately. But all joking aside, Martyn's right. You can't really read too much into this game. In an ideal world, you'd go out and play wonderful football and win 7-8-0. We learned in the lower divisions it doesn't always work out like that. Circumstances do sort of dictate. The positives, first of all, let's chat about that. Jermaine Defoe, obviously, he was great. Really enjoyed watching him. The other one for me, and this might sound a little strange given the game and the fact it was a bit of a canter in all honesty, was Wes Foderingham. Now, you can't really judge someone, as we've mentioned, and we'll talk about this throughout any of the players because of the circumstances. But every time I've seen Wes recently, I've seen him quite a lot, pre-season and end of last season, I just can't help but thinking you're a much better goalkeeper than you were when you were the first team goalkeeper here. He's out of contract at the end of the season. He seems happy at Rangers. And I think we all just assumed that he would be here until he left, if you know what I mean. He was just biding his time. Yeah, he's good number 2, but he'll go. I wonder if long-term the thinking is, he could be our number 1. And if he was to get a new deal, Marina, is that something you'd be for?
Definitely. I think he has really impressed when he's had the chance. So to have that maturity not to be in the huff, being a huff about not being first choice. And he has made some great saves. I've definitely get more confident. He was never a bad keeper. No. Remember in the semi-final of Firm game, but when it went
to his fault.
no, exactly, yeah, but getting us through on penalties as well.
Oh yeah, that one. Sorry, I thought it just shows you the difference in mindset. You are an upbeat person. You went to that one. I went to the humiliating one a couple of years later.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I don't think we could ever blame him for that.
No.
So yeah, I have been really impressed. I think maybe he's seeing, the way McGregor's going with these mood swings and this and that he probably will get a lot of opportunities due to bookings or Alan McGregor being suspended. But I'm glad that he has been given the cup, that he's given the cup games, and we're getting to see him, and hopefully he does stay.
Yeah. I just think that I did have problems with long-term listeners will know I felt that shots from outside the box, etc. But Martyn, is it a case of, well, hang on a minute here, he's working with a better class of goalkeeper, first of all, and he's working with a better class of coach, and he is improving. And he's a goalkeeper. I mean, the old cliche that you can't really judge them age-wise as you would an outfielder.
I would hope they'd pick up a few bits and pieces. He's worked with one of the best goalkeepers in the club's history, in that saying something. He is good backup. We're in a good position to have him in the cup competitions, or to be called upon when McGregor goes rage at someone and ends up in the stands for a few games. It was going to take a lot, though, David, for him to work his way back into a position to be Rangers number one. McGregor just doesn't give you something different technically. He has a presence longer term that he gave immediately to the team when he came there, that infuses something in his wider defensive unit and just the team. And Wes is perfectly decent, but he's not that. And I'd have to see a lot more to convince me that he's the next Rangers number one when McGregor finally goes. But absolutely, if the financials worked and he could stay for even another year as that alternative, yeah, that works for me.
I suppose I just have nightmares about crap number twos. Ali Maxwell, this is your fault. Unfortunately,
he's not Ali Maxwell, is he?
He's not. No, he's. I'm perfectly happy to see him in the team as opposed to walking into Ibrox and going off. But back to yesterday, Marina. Joe Aribo, he's been sensational since we got him, and he's settled straight away, taken to life at Rangers. Fans love him. Says he's, the manager says he's really enjoying his time here. Called into the Nigeria squad. I was a bit surprised to see him yesterday, got to be honest. I know he didn't play on Thursday due to suspension. Worries, he wasn't suspended, but there was worry if he picked up a booking. But he's certainly going to start. Well, I would assume he's going to start on Thursday. But again, didn't let it bother him. Wasn't a great pitch, but the moments of skill that he produced were far and away the most interesting thing about the match, I thought.
Yeah, he is just a joy to watch, and he was a joy to watch at East Fife. I know CVG in his post-match interview was saying that like good players are good all the time. They don't just pick and choose when to be good, and talking about Defoe. I think that also applied to Aribo. And he just wasn't, he didn't seem fazed, and he didn't seem to think he was above it. Like, what am I doing here? I shouldn't be playing in this game. After Lee Boyer advising him against Scottish football. But I'm not sure. Do you think because he came from, is it non-league or semi-pro football before Charlton?
Staines, I think.
Yeah. Do you think that's maybe why he seemed quite at home at Bayview?
Yeah, well, I think that he's just one of these guys who loves playing football. It's not quite a job for him. Defoe's got a touch of that as well.
Yeah.
And I think that...
Gerald.
Yeah. I think that they've got that sort of love of the game and wanting the ball. I love midfielders who want the ball all the time. Mm-hmm. I love a midfielder who says, "You'll give it to me and I'll make something happen." And his track record so far for doing that has been excellent. He is just the type of player that I think, Martyn, you can see fans really taking to, and also he is something we didn't have.
Yes, we've talked about this before, but he gives us a presence and a threat with his passing and shooting from outside the box, which means you can have as low a block as you like, it doesn't matter. And there's something about that gets teams instantly now worried and focusing on him. And that's the kind of thing you need to try and move teams about, move players about, and kind of generate a bit of space, and the kind of games that we know will be upon us again soon enough. So he's seems to be grasping the opportunity again, seems to be enjoying life at the club again. The Gerrard connection, that just doesn't happen without him.
No.
And the numbers seem to suggest he would give us exactly what he is giving us. Beforehand, he was wanted by more than a few clubs, and there's a good reason for that. So, still early days. I remember all the many bouts of poetry that were written about Koulibaly about this time last year. But I think there's potentially something really special, and we should enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, we get the blame for Koulibaly because we sponsored him, and it wasn't our fault. right? I mean, we didn't kick him. That was one of the McGinns, the 2 dozen McGinns playing in Scottish football that did that. But yes, he has been tremendous. Marina, before we talk about his performance in his debut and also the news that he's not in the Euro squad, let's nail the nickname for Philip Helander. Is he Dolph or is he Thor? What are we going with?
I can't decide. Dolph, I think he's more.
I would go with Dolph, but I've seen Thor. Martyn?
More of a Thor man myself.
Right, majority rule though, mate.
Well, I mean, it's not going to keep me up at night. I hope we see enough of him for a nickname to have any relevance.
Well, I thought he played reasonably well. I know that wasn't shared by everyone. No, did you know? I thought
he was fine.
He
did exactly what again we've been looking for. I know it's only Fife, and I've just said we can't take anything out of this game, but this pod would be about 20 minutes long if that was the case. But he and if anyone hasn't read Adam Thornton's piece on Modern Football, I think it is, about how we struggle or how we hope to break the teams that sit in so deeply. That's exactly one facet of that, a centre half who can genuinely bring the ball out of defence and find that pass, because it sets the hair running in Scotland. They're not used to that happening, and very early signs against a very limited team, but in the conditions we've talked about, you still managed to do that with aplomb. I thought it was absolutely fine. I'm not sure what I missed yesterday.
No, I didn't really see it either, but some people, I actually have seen the word bomb scare used, and I was like, what? Really? I mean, it's not that we don't have recent experience, Marina, of centre-halves who are a bomb scare.
Exactly. It's not like we've been spoiled for choice over the past few years. So their standards are so high. I think, as people have said, it's very hard to judge anyone on that game yesterday. But I thought he did well, and almost getting a goal, or getting the goal, if he's being credited with it. I think, if he's a defender, our defence didn't let in any goals.
No, he was absolutely fine, I thought. Yeah. But I suppose it's all about opinions. Even wrong ones are important. Just listening to you there, Marina, I think we do have to explain. Marina and I are from the same town, but we didn't go to the same school.
I mean, is it that obvious?
It really is. Come on.
But I didn't go to the Catholic school just to.
No. Well, we don't have one in Co-Winning. So, I mean, obviously. But no, she went to a proper school, whereas I went to Co-Winning Academy. Weirdly, though, whenever you go to Glasgow, because up there, academy means posh school. And so you say, I went to Co-Winning Academy, and people from Glasgow Uni would go like, oh, really? But what? And I'm like, no, mate, it's a comprehensive, it's a high school, I think that they call them up there. But yeah, slightly different. Martyn, he's been left at the Euro squad, and that is interesting because it's a big match for us. Legia Warsaw, good side, a lot of money on the line for us. And yes, you've got 22 bodies, and that's it, and it's a pain in the hole. But even so, you would maybe have, you can't, I think, look at this now and think, well, you're not the fourth choice. Or am I reading too much into it?
No, he is, by definition. If he's the fourth choice in November, then there could be a wee bit of concern about the kind of outlay and why. And certainly if we are talking this time next year and he hasn't made an impact, maybe there are some sports science concerns about just getting him in at the right time. I have absolutely no idea. The fact is, though, our centre half pairing at the moment are very solid at this moment in time, and clearly the manager's happy with that, and Edmondson's just maybe had a wee bit more game time, a little more game time, and you'll go with that. I'm not reading too much into it at the moment, but as I said, if we ever did get to the groups, for example, and that squad was announced and he wasn't there, that would be inconsistent, I think, with spending that kind of money on a player which was not expected at all, really, of the club in the summer.
I suppose it's a balance, Marina, between, do you say, well, he was 3 million, he's got to go into the side, or do you say that, well, Nico's been absolutely superb. Him and Goldson have been excellent for us, regularly. We know this. You go with the guys in form, they've got the jersey, and that's the end of it.
No, I think it'd be silly to play him just because he's worth, or because we spent this money on him. We saw what a detrimental impact it had on Katic last year, dropping him for no good reason, really. So whilst he is playing well, I don't think that we can or we should drop Katic.
Well, I'm a big Nico fan. I mean, I admit that. So I'm kind of like, yeah, it'd be great to put Helander in the team. But if it means that Katic is going out, and there is the argument that says the combos you can have are, you couldn't really play Katic and Helander because they're both the guys who want to go in command. Goldson is the sweeper type. Edmondson's the sweeper type, the pacey guy in Edmondson's case who can get in behind. So or cover in behind rather if you get done on the counter. It needs to be 1-1, if you like. So maybe they are just directly competing against each other. But it was really interesting. The other one left out of the squad, the players coming in were Brandon Barker and Andy King, for anyone wondering. The other player, Martyn, was Greg Docherty, and I wonder what that tells us about his future at Ibrox.
Precarious. Sixth choice in midfield. We had a chat second half of last season on this show when he started well at Shrewsbury, and we tended to look at loan moves. Well, we tend to look at everything the way we want to look at it, but we tend to look at loan moves as, look, that's great, he's getting some time and some games under his belt, he's really playing well, he's going to come back a far better prospect for us. Or, well, yeah, but that's his level. And I just don't know, it's just not happened for him under 2 managers, 3 managers, don't know, can't remember now.
Marty signed him.
Yeah, so it's... it doesn't look great. Whether he needs, is another loan going to change that? And that's what I mean. I don't know what more he could have done in England last year to have impressed the manager.
To be given an opportunity,
yeah. So is it a kind of, right? You've gone away. You've really got your head down. You've performed very well. We're getting a better player back. Or, as I said, is the manager's going, well, yeah, but that maybe that's just the level. We project a lot onto that, I think. But what we think doesn't really matter. The manager's pretty clear. And Andy King, who hasn't played a great deal of football himself over the past few years, straight in the door.
Yeah, and wasn't signed, let's be honest, if he wasn't going to at least be in contention to feature. I don't think he came in to be the 6th choice for a midfield 3. So, yeah, it doesn't bode too well for Greg Docherty. Marina, you are off to Warsaw, as previously stated. It's going to be some game. I mean, they have this infamous home support. It's going to be, I think, looking round our Euro travels the last couple of seasons, the most intense match that we've had. They are in a bit of financial bother themselves. They desperately need the money. Not having a great time of it over the last couple of seasons. What are you expecting from this match?
I'm hoping. I don't know. People are saying that they're not the team that they were, but I think it's always a dangerous game. I think it will be a tough game, but hopefully we can rise to it, like we've shown before. It'd be nice to come away with a win and just a really good... I'd really want to see Rangers win away in Europe. I've not done that yet.
All right. Well, if it happens, then you can get the credit, but if it goes wrong, you get the blame.
Get the blame, and Caroline as well. So blame both of us.
We'll blame both of you. No, I could get in trouble for that. I don't want hashtag me too. Edgar called me a jinx coming up. That I don't need that in my life. Martyn, it is a different challenge because we talk a lot about the intensity of our fans at Ibrox, and I think that this team had benefited from that. The Celtic matches spring to mind, but you are going to face a very intense, intimidating atmosphere. You're going to have to be mentally strong. And I like to think we are. I think that they've shown signs of that. But also last season, there were times we showed signs of mental fragility. And you're up against a really good team. I agree with Marina. I see this whole, oh, they're not what they were. They're still pretty decent. And I think that we have to be aware of the size of the challenge and not let Midtjylland maybe blind us to how big a challenge this is.
It's a different one. I think you're right in terms of the atmosphere. I can't think off the top of my head, apart from Old Firm games, I guess, where we will have entered into that kind of fray. I don't know, not being a professional footballer myself, how important that is once the whistle goes and the game kicks off. It's a tough ask. I think it's a finely poised kind of contest. I think it was pretty much 50-50. We might see one of those kind of Maribor or Osijek away performances from last year, perhaps, rather than the Midtjylland one from the other week. And then that really would leave it very finely poised in the Ibrox leg. They've started slowly, I think, in the league. I think Polish League's 5 games in. They're kind of mid-table, next to Górnik Zabrze, who really should be Polish champions every year,
yes,
in my opinion, going back to
along with
the
late 80s.
Indeed,
yes,
indeed.
Yep.
So they aren't what they were. I think that's fair to say, but still a tough test. And listen, we said this time last year, or in September, sorry, that we'd absolutely no business being in the group stage of the Europa League that early on. I'm not entirely sure, given our coefficient and given where we are, that we can demand just to stroll through 4 qualifiers again. This is a far tougher proposition than UFA, because of the third round draw that we got then, and so it's just another test of where we are. If we don't make it, that would be a blow, but we can concentrate also in domestic business. If we do, it's another remarkable achievement. But it's I don't think it's a side lacking in confidence, though. I don't think we're going there maybe on the back of a wobble. Let's say, for example, we needed extra time at home to beat a lower league club in the League Cup.
That's ridiculous. Who would? Come on.
No,
club outside.
Not a team in Europe, certainly. So that might be a different proposition, but I think they'll. And you talked about Katic before. The boys in the zone, you would hope the kind of game that he will relish. So it'll be an interesting one, a nervy one though, and it's good to be back, excited, nervous about European games. The Danes were talked up a fair bit, and so there was a wee bit of, all right, okay, I've never seen them, but they're getting a good write up, and that was a pleasant experience. It's going to be tough though. It's going to be a big ask.
They're not all bad though, Marina, because they fucking hate Celtic.
Good taste then, or no wonder.
No wonder. That's the very phrase. After it cost them a lot of money, and a lot of Leisure fans actually put down having to sell players before they wanted to and before they'd matured to what they thought they were going to be, so for less money, down to that.
Oh, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, well, but in that case, we'd blown it. In their case, they'd won 6-1 over 2 legs. So I think you can understand their disappointment. The age-old question, financially, we know it's not even a question. We need to get into this league. It'll be much better for us if we do. But there is that other side of it that says if we were to go out, getting the extra time, going for the league title, it maybe wouldn't be the worst thing in that sense.
Exactly. And compared to the Champions League, the Europa Cup, yes, it's money that we do need, but it's not a huge amount compared to, as well, like what we might spend or lose, like risking players' tiredness or injury. So eternal optimist, I'm going to see the positive in any situation. If we get through, excellent. If we don't, then our heads down and focus on domestic, the league, and hopefully a cup as well. So I don't think we can, unless we get completely embarrassed.
I doubt that. I just
So,
don't see that in a Gerrard team. We could lose, absolutely, but I just you don't really, do you? You just don't see a 4-5. Well, hopefully, as I say, I'm not sitting here next week with cut Broadfoot style, egg lodged in face at high speed. But before we go, then, folks, I'd like to talk about our separated brethren across the city. You may have seen that Tom Boyd has emerged from under the bush he sleeps in and was commentating on, as Martyn says, Celtic's shameful performance in the victory that they eventually got over lower league Dunfermline when he appeared, I like that report here, appeared to suggest that the referee was bent. It was John Beaton, and he said his decision not to award Celtic a penalty was premeditated. He said it's very difficult when you're playing against 12 men, and we always are. And then suggested that Beaton would be welcome in his pub later tonight. Now, we have, just as we came on air, we read that the compliance officer is going to look into these comments. Lol. But, Martyn, firstly, it's the world's worst fucking conspiracy because they've won 9 trophies in a row. And it takes to me a special sort of mindset, incidentally, to be able to believe that shit despite the evidence. But the reason I want to mention this is I'm all for let people say stupid things. That's cool, right? And what you do in your own channel and all the rest of it. John Beaton received death threats after the January game, which incidentally came after Celtic sent out their media poodles to stoke it up against them. He needed a police escort into matches. His life was altered by this. And yet here you have somebody feeding on an official channel and someone who does have, I'm glad we don't have as many people who look as though they bathe in piss as Tom Boyd as our ambassadors. But surely that's legitimising to these people, the online crazies, etc. Yeah, you're right. And you can do this stuff. Well, Tom Boyd says I'm right and it's okay. And that to me is why this should receive punishment.
Tom Boyd is the online crazy. He's that film. You don't get to appear in that without it being a kind of office style mockumentary, and the whole thing's a kind of deliberate joke. And then get to have any gravitas as a proper football commentator. I mean, it's over. So if that didn't get him in front of the compliance officer, then you have to wonder what does. You're right. I mean, this is an unprecedented level of success in Scottish football, and it's never ever far from the surface. It's doing research on this book. I don't know if I'm writing one, David, but
are you writing a book?
No, I don't like to talk about it. But it's there. I mean, the Davy Hay reaction to the 1986 Skull Cup final, he almost literally picked up the ball and walked off the Hampden. And again talked about we might as well go to the English League because we just don't get a fair crack of the whip and all this kind of stuff. I was going to say the 90s broke them and Brian Laudrup broke Tom Boyd and all that, but it's just there. It's part of their shtick because it plays to the Madhouse and they pay for Celtic TV, so it's not overly surprising. It's fortunate I've not seen the incident because I'm not a pervert. I wasn't watching Celtic at the weekend, but. It's incredible. Well, it should be incredible, but then look at the film. He starred in something like that. He's involved in something. He is. Can you
imagine that? The casting. We need to do a screen test, Tom. Hang on, I need to get some Vaseline on the screen. Oh man.
Yeah. So he is an online crazy. He is a mentalist. He's writing some of these. He's preparing some of these lines on his wall in shit. He's a fucking nut job. But this is not a professional journalist that's gone rogue somehow. That's a story. It's I can't be. They're not going to do anything. Obviously, that just I'll look into it as the story. I think I don't expect any action to be taken, but he's just a local mentalist. I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
It's going to get worse, Marina, as we get closer to 55.
Oh, absolutely. And as fun as it is to watch, it is quite scary though. That's what, like, I was wondering about Tom Boyd. Is he just pandering? Does he know what he's doing? Is he pandering to the masses like Chris Sutton? Is it
I don't
something
think so. I agree with you. I think Sutton knows what he's doing.
Oh, he does.
But Tom
Do you
Boyd
reckon?
actually,
No, I don't know. I agree with. I think that's just what he is. I think he's just
Celtic minded.
Yes.
Like that paranoid, deluded mentality where they do think that the world's against them despite all the evidence to the contrary. And if things don't, they'll spoil.
Sorry, Marina. So someone on Twitter was talking about the George Cadetti SFA registration today as if it was last week.
Yes.
You know, as if this is still a burning grievance. Now, we love to talk about old games. Some of us have a whole podcast career on it, but there's still wee things that annoy you, right? You come across it against. I can't believe that boy was sent off. They still talk about this kind of stuff, as if it's current affairs.
Yeah,
they do.
It never leaves them, and it's passed on.
It's the equivalent of England playing Germany, getting a bad decision and going, "No, they were like that in the war," It's just, it has no relevance at all, but it's not going to change. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it's going to get worse as we get closer to the title. So strap yourselves in, folks. Right, that will do us for this week on Heart and Hand. Now, people have asked about when's Heart and Hand Extra coming back. It doesn't come out if we're playing on a Thursday, folks. The reason for that is if we record before it, there's no point. And if we record after it, trust me, nobody listens. It comes out on the Friday and then there's a new one out on the Monday. So that's why it will come back as soon as we have 3 weeks or whatever, or play earlier in the week. But till then, it's one per week. So we'll be back next Monday. If you want to catch up with all of us, and you've heard lovely plugs there from both Martyn and Marina on their shows on our network, Heart and Hand on Patreon, you just go to patreon.com/Heart and Hand, where for just $1.99 per month, you can get all of this. Worth it for the Brittany show alone, I'm telling you. It's going to be worth it for the comments, I think, afterwards anyway. So thanks to our executive producers in London, Mike Lee and Paul Myers, and thank you to my two guests. Firstly, the wonderful debutant, Miss, sorry, is it Ms? I want to get your terminology correct. All right, I'll just go with Marina Bannatyne.
Thank you very much for having me on, David.
And Mr. Martyn Ramsey.
Pleasure, David. Enjoy your trip, Marina.
Thank you.
I hope you are the lucky chap. If you win, you will. If we win, you do all the credit for it. Right, folks, we'll be back. Stay safe if you're heading to Warsaw. Talk to you again this time next week. Cheers. Bye.